we come to the last keynote speaker of the day, Diego Pavia. Diego is the CEO of the Kic InnoEnergy Europe, and his talk is entitled Innovation Challenges of the Energy Sector. Diego, you have the floor.
Thank you. Thank you. So good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. When Jan asked me about a title for the presentation, the two key words are innovation, energy sector. Okay, so a bit more holistic than we have been listening so far today. And for this, innovation is not a goal in itself, as we all know. It's a mean either to address a challenge or to grasp an opportunity. Not a goal in itself. It's to address a challenge or to grasp an opportunity. So let's see what is a challenge that we all share. And since we are all pretty much engineers, what we want is that the function of what is the cost of the energy sector per unit of energy at the end of this energy transition is much lower, with the contextual conditions of that the greenhouse gas emissions are as per the targets we gave ourselves in Europe, and that the system as itself is at least as secure as it is today in terms of autonomy of supply, in terms of operation of the system. So it is a function that we have to minimize. And my main message today is that this function has got many variables that are interrelated, and not only is about technology, it's about innovation in many of the other variables of that function. And we need to succeed, because we know that out of everything we consume, everything we use, 27% of the cost is energy. So as a European continent, if we are not able to address this function and to minimize it sooner than later, then we are at jeopardy. And I want to touch with you to bring the journey in 6 of those variables of that function that we have to minimize that are interrelated. That's the key message. We'll start with technology, and we'll see that technology, it will be there as an enabler for the function. But then we'll see that technology is fully linked to the market design, the value chain of the actors, to supply chain, where you are key players, to the regulation, as we heard before, to the individual acceptance. Is it acceptance or is it appropriation? And then to human capital. So us and the ones to come. So I invite you for a journey of the next 10 minutes on this. And we start with technology. Technology is there. We see that the PV, and I will talk a lot about Euros, PV, wind, batteries, storage, both at the grid and at household level, they're already there in terms of commercial viability, of commercial competitiveness. So the euros per picowatt, the euros per either capacity or energy of batteries, they will be there when we need them. So that will not be the main problem. We see that the new applications, the electric vehicles, what you get for what you pay, is already there. So there is a new demand coming along. I will not touch too much about technology because it will definitely be an enabler, and will make it happen. Let's go to another dimension that is maybe not so manageable. And we go to the next one, that is the market design. We heard that the wholesale market, the prices are decreasing. But what hurts us is the price we are paying ourselves. After the wholesale market, you have a lot of things in your bill. Can I ask the audience, how many of you know how much you are paying in your energy bill? Can you raise your hands? 20%? And out of those that raise their hands, do you know how much is the energy piece, and how much is the capacity piece, and how much is the regulation piece? Wow. So we have a problem, but we don't know how big the problem is. And we are the ones that we are really prepared to understand it. What happens with the John Smith Main Street? So it's extremely important that this is somehow bridged. We are talking a language that is only an endogamic one. We have to cross to the other side of the street to make the bridge. And we'll be seeing that in the energy transition, the conventional models are gone and the new business models and new players are coming. You see here some quotes from the last Brussels Energy Sustainable Week. Quotes from different players, the GRC, RTE, the French TSO, EDSO, Euroelectric, that the storage operators, so new businesses, new companies showing up in the value chain. That's also innovation. Again, it's not only about technology. But it may happen because the technology, as an enabler, can be capitalized on a new business model. And of course, the top one, and the main exponent of the top one, is the reconfiguration, for example, of E.ON, the big German utility, into different companies. Okay, let's continue the journey. Now we jump to the next dimension. It's regulation. Oh, Lord. Regulation, is that an enabler or something different? And you see here on the right side and on the left side, what is the impact on top of those wholesale prices of interventions. Do you know, as Europeans, how many interventions we are suffering when we're paying our bill? 700. That's a study by Oettinger, the former Commissioner of Energy. 700. So as every single country is around 30 that we are suffering when we're paying our kilowatt. So that's distorting the whole thing. And of course, regulation has allowed that those convergence of technologies towards grid parity and the right euros per kilowatt hour are where they are. But sometimes this should be much more a global approach, as the first speaker said. We have been addressing a global problem with local approaches. The big one is the German subsidies for all different kinds of technologies, energy efficiency, you name it. We should be progressing towards a global solution for a global problem. And you see here on this side of the slide, what is the retail prices back in 2013 of Europe compared to the States. This is equivalent to 5 million jobs lost because our industries are not competitive, because their end products with this 20% average energy cost are not competitive worldwide. Employment, blah, 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 blah. So the whole thing is interrelated. Again, the message is this is a global problem, systemic challenge to address. We continue the journey. In the journey now we go to the supply chain. So who is going to pay for the research? Who is going to pay for those programs going forward? Normally those that got the balance sheet that is big enough to invest medium long term. Look at the balance sheets of our big utilities that are the ones dragging, pulling the demand side of the value chain. Dire straits. The balance sheets of the big utilities have shrunk maybe by 5 times in the last 4 years, 5 times the balance sheet lower, and the credit rating that you use to finance yourself, that they use to invest also in research, they invest in being your demand, is shrinking. So let's be very careful, because without those pulling, maybe there is nobody pulled. And something that worries us a lot, that is for the DSOs, that more and more, some end users become prosumers, as we heard, so they disconnect from the grid. By disconnecting, the revenues of the DSOs decrease, so they have to increase the tariffs. So the ones that cannot create those distributed generation, then they get increased their capacity connection. So from a uniform commodity, now the ones that can adapt will get better than the ones that cannot adapt. Is that fair socially? Would that create tensions? Again, let's be careful. Two more dimensions. We heard about acceptance. For Kic InnoEnergy, the word that we should be start declining is appropriation. We should not treat our dear end users as end customers or as is about them leading the transformation. We're treating them as if they will be getting anything that we offer them. We have to bring them to the, maybe not the driving seat, but definitely on the front seat. Appropriation rather than acceptance. And the final one is about human capital. So what we're doing, and I wanted to be a bit dreaming with you, is you might know about Kic InnoEnergy, one of the three things we do is that we take bachelors and master graduates and we invest in them for a couple of years or 4 years to transform them in game changers. After 5 years in business, what we have identified is that the bachelors, sorry, they're already a religion. Silicon carbide for the switchers is the solution. So we thought about investing in younger generations. So we have kids between 8 and 13, so we take them by the hand and we let them play with the energy system as a game. We make them dispatch a coal plant, so they understand that they have to buy coal. And maybe the coal plant doesn't have enough capacity in the transmission lines to be hooked to the system. And they understand, hey, then I need power lines. Oh, then maybe so they see the whole system. So when they come to where you're sitting today, they have a system approach with all the dimensions to tackle and not just the small niche where we all are. First conclusion of my pitch is I just took 6 of those dimensions of the function that we have to minimize, and there are 3 colors. Where we are today, so the contribution, innovation-wise, to minimizing the function of those 6 dimensions, and what is our assessment in 2035 of the contribution of those dimensions to minimizing the function. We believe that the hardest is not about technology. The hard is not about business models or market design. The hard is not about the supply chain. The hard is going to be the societal appropriation and regulation. And it might seem very far away from your own worries, but without them accompanying the evolution, the others will not make it. So what we do is we walk the talk. We're not observers, but we walk the talk. 3 slides to finish. And we have launched 2 years ago what is called the market creator. So we identify something that does not exist commercially, business-wise, and we build the first transaction, but not transaction with 3,000 users, transactions with 500,000 users. By this, we mobilize the right technologies, the right innovations from you guys, and the rest of the 5 remaining dimensions. We operate for 1 year, 2 years, and then we hand over the keys to a to-be operator of the market. So far, 1 success, and now I'm going to share with you one of the 4 cases that we have in the pipeline. The BOT is for build, integrating new technologies and the other innovations of the 4 other dimensions, operate, and once it's commercially demonstrated, we transfer. So it's pretty much what my previous speaker talked about. And we call that internally as a local system operator. So I will not go into the details because they've been pretty much covered, but it is about servicing the current DSOs with something that today is not his balancing, what is it? Balancing services. I don't know where they are, besides the normal goodies that we are all pursuing. Again, that you will see now in some, so here are the balancing mechanisms, the TSOs, the DSOs, and is a new operator, a new function in the value chain, microgrid level, but that, yes, contributes to the security of the operation of the system and the balancing. If you go to the EPRI study of what are the goodies that this kind of approach, system-wise, bring to all the players of the value chain, you have even here valorized in terms of euros, both in terms of capacity and energy, and this is what we are leveraging. What is one of the, we believe, game changers or enablers for this to happen? Technology-wise, I go back to the hexagon. It's not the Teslas, it's the battery as a function of the system, not the battery as a technology, but as a function of the system. And you see here the peak shaving in terms of power, so capacity, not in terms of energy, and what are the euros that are gained at end-user level when you aggregate at building levels. Regulation, I continue with the 6 dimensions. Value chain, so we will create an LSO, demonstrate that operates, and hand over the keys. Supply chain will be European. Yes, today, both technologies and off-the-shelf are there to create that new market function. And will the society appropriate, so being the driving seat of this new function? This is what we're working on. So again, we're approaching all the innovations with the multi-dimension study assessment. So conclusion from my side, it's not only about technology. Innovation is multifaceted. The equation that we all share and that we want to minimize has got those 6 and surely many others, and all of them are interrelated. It's a systemic problem that requires systemic solutions. Don't think on your own turf, think wide. Second is a multidimensional problem, and we need multidisciplinary contributors. If I ask now to the audience how many economists or sociologues or psychologues or anthropologists are in the room, I guess I will get very few hands raised. We have to work cross-disciplinary. Otherwise, we will not solve the problem. Finally, it's a global problem that requires European solutions. I would love, my wife is Swedish, I was born in France, studied in French, I'm Spanish, my kids are absolutely European. I would love the member states to give to the European level, ACER or whatever, more and more power so they will contribute to a global solution for a global problem. And that the Polish, they don't put phase firewalls to just impossibilitate that the flows go through Poland of the North Sea wind from the Germans, that we address the problem globally. Otherwise, we will never, ever make it. And the rest of the world will be laughing at us. But the good thing is that in Europe, there's an assessment again, we are extremely good at complex problems. This morning I learned that one of the professors in Ronnie's professorship in Leuven, he has cut a deal with a Colorado university and asked Yuan, why are they interested in cutting a deal, in having joint programs with Leuven? He said, well, because Americans, they don't know about complex systems, about systemic challenges. In Europe, we do. In Europe, we are very good at these type of problems. We have to work together. Okay, thank you.